What's up, man? It's your boy Vigilante Styles here, and I am doing a mix for a friend, and I figured that this video would be useful because you guys might want to see, my process. In this case, I'm mixing to a 2-track beat file, mixing vocals to it, right? So, one thing, I study Serban Genia's methods, right? And the more that I study him, the more that I realize that Mixbus is already set up kind of very similarly to like how a mixer like Serban would typically set their own sessions up. The idea is that you would be mixing on a console. Now, why would Serban change his method that he's used to? They didn't have Mixbus back when he decided to go digital with the Pro Tools and everything. So, but now that we do have it, we can be picky and we don't have to use his tools per se, because I feel like these tools at least give you some character, whereas his really don't. And that's fine because that is the way Serban mixes, right? He gets a lot of tracks that already have tons of plugins on them. There's already plenty of character there. But in this case, we have to add character because the people that we work with don't have tracks that have a lot of character on them. They're all pretty much digital. Everybody's using basically the same stock plugins and trying to get character out of that. Maybe they're using some Waves plugins or whatever. But overall, I feel like you need something like this that's pretty clean, but it gives you a little bit of character. So I'm debating whether or not I want to take this beat file, because I haven't even heard it yet, and route it through a bus and give it a little vibe, give it a little tape saturation, some warm tape. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to listen to it. So I'm going to kind of talk my way through a lot of this process. So I know on vocals I'm going to want a de-esser. I'm going to put loads in. Loads in is... You guys probably can't see the plugin window as it opens up because I'm recording this video via window share. So this obviously comes up in a separate window, so you're not seeing that, but you are seeing this part of everything. So I'm just gonna call this song Muchos. It's Spanish. It's a Spanish song. My buddy I work with, he does a lot of hip hop music, but he also does, just strictly like Spanish music. So in this case, I'm gonna have to hear the beat. If it sounds too clean, or maybe got some harshness or something, I probably am gonna route it through a bus. So let's decide that. I always go with warm tape on buses. On the master bus, you have the yellow tape. You don't have the orange. It's by default, and that's fine. That's more transparent sounding tape. That's what you want. It's your master tape. This here, the concept of routing into your buses where they have some tape saturation it's because we don't have tracks that are pre-recorded through a console, or coming from multi-track tape. So by running it through the tape here, you're giving it that character, along with, the mixing and everything that we're doing here. So let me get a listen on this beat, try to figure out where it belongs. Okay, I went ahead and made the decision to send the beat. I'm going to send the beat. I'm not sending it yet. I'm going to do my processing, but I am going to dedicate a bus to this beat. It's already like a mastered beat. That's kind of a problem because it's so loud already. I had to bring the master fader down by a lot. But I'll probably bring it back up. I'm going to do some things first. I'm going to control the input gain. I guess we're going to gain stage it a little and see what we can get out of it. Now that I made it a little softer, it doesn't sound so squared off sounding. So, but nevertheless, it's a mastered beat, so there's not going to be a lot that I can do to this. I don't want to do too much to it. I'm going to go with a very low ratio. I'm going to go with like 2-1. I'm going to keep medium attack and release. I just want I want really just the character a little bit of this compressor. I don't want a lot on it. If I feel like it's squashing it or making it sound terrible or whatever, I'm gonna back off on it. But let's get a listen. Okay, so the compressor already took some of that digitalness a little bit out of that beat. I know it's already mastered, but it's just a tiny bit of compression. So let's go to EQ now. I'm gonna just kind of play around with the EQ knob to see if I can enhance this. If I feel like I'm just ruining it or whatever, I'm just gonna then just probably run everything probably just default or whatever. But let's check it. I don't know if that I thought I had my mic off. Anyway, I don't know if that top end there. Hold on, let me mute my mic. You guys can hear it correctly. I don't know if I screwed that up. No, let's see. Okay, so on the snare, I'm hearing kind of like this grit on it. I don't like that, to be honest. So let's go check out my plugins. When you get Mixbus Pro, Harrison Mixbus Pro, or whatever the version is below Pro, but not the cheapest version, you get the XT plugins for free. So in this case, I'm looking for a multi-band compressor. We'll go with that and put that on our insert. It's nice. Now, I want to put that top above all the processing. So I want it ahead of my 9000J EQ. That's the SSL 9000J. So basically what we have sonically is an SSL 9000J sound. But Harrison makes the program. So it's Harrison Mixbus Pro, because before it was a Harrison console, and it is when you first load this in. You just got to change it all to SSLs. And then I put the SSL bus compressor for the native bus compressor for the SSL glue instead of the one that Harrison comes up with. So anyway, let me go check this. But we are going to use the Harrison XT MC multi-band compressor. And I'm going to try to find that clicky stuff, see if I can't like tighten that up a little. I feel like it softened things up pretty good. Not bad. Let's go ahead and run that into the bus. So I'm putting the beat on the beat bus here, and then I'm gonna turn off, of course, the master bus assign, so that the signal is not going straight. We don't have two signals. If you did two, that's parallel, right? So then you could do parallel compression on this bus, and then just kind of bring it into the dry signal. But in this case, when you turn off master, it's going. You're turning the dry signal off, so you want everything going into the bus and then into the master bus. So I think it's got some pretty decent analog character, so we can roll with that. I gave it some compression here. I used the leveler, which is like an LA2A. So I'm just doing very, very transparent. Once again, compression. The reason why I do that is because when you're EQing, you want to EQ into a compressor. And that kind of, I believe it smooths the transients. So that's kind of what I was trying to do, is smooth things out and make things sound nice and good. I think it sounds pretty good. I think we can roll with that. Now, all the rest are vocals. Joy, right? We love doing that. So it looks like there's a hook here. We'll start with the hook. There's an ad-lib track. I'm not too happy about that because I don't know if he wanted a delay and reverb on that. If I ask him, he's probably going to say yeah. So he should tell me these things before I start. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start with his hook main vocal. Yeah. So we'll start with that. Let's go. Let's do some vocal processing.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Alright, so on the bus here, so I gave it the ratio is 8.3. Medium attack, medium release. EQ, I just EQ'd by ear until everything sounded right. And then we routed to the vocal bus. So now the vocal bus, we're going to drive it through some tape saturation, do another EQ. The compressor, we're going to set that to limiter, but I'm going to turn the limiter to 4.1 because they said that the compressor, when it's on limiter mode, is very similar to an 1176. And then we're going to go into the loads de-esser where I'm just going to do very, very subtle de-essing. It's pretty good as it is now. But bear in mind that the vocals were already sent to me with some compression on it. So I don't really want to go absolutely ape shit with compressors, right? But I want to have a good controlled vocal and a professional sounding one. So let's go.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió cuando te vi.
Okay, I just realized I can't put the limiter down below 11 on the ratio. So it's not really like an 1176 because you can't go down to a ratio of below 11 because I was going to go to 4. 1176 is technically a compressor, not really a limiter. So I'm going to go with the compressor. We're going to go with the 4.0. Medium attack, medium release. And we're going to go with like about... We'll try about 4 to 5 decibels gain reduction. And I'll try it at about 8. We'll see which one is the right one.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Okay, good. So now we have this first vocal. Now here's what you're going to like about Mixbus. You want to talk about some workflow shit? Let's get that workflow going quick, right? So all the vocals are roughly going to... It's the same guy, right? So we're just going to use the same EQ, the same compression moves. I might have to maybe, depending on how he did certain things, I may have to add more compression, but otherwise we're going to do that. So it's going to be real easy. You can just copy things over. So let me start a group here so I know what group this is. So I'm going to go, this is called hook, right? Hook 1, or just call it hook. Call it hook. So that's hook. And then this is also a hook track. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to copy, I'm just dragging the EQ right here. I'm dragging the compressor right here. Now I've copied the compressor and the EQ settings. I'm going to sends and I'm going to send it to the vocal bus. I'm going to turn off the master bus assign. And then we're just going to listen to it and do any fine adjustments from there.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Okay. So now we have an ad-lib track, and I wasn't given any instructions on what to do with it. I'm going to assume they might want phone vocals. I don't know the tempo of this. I know on the last song that I mixed for him, he wanted reverb and delay. So maybe I can throw a delay in and tap it or something. Let's find out.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. gente no cree en el amor, no. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Alright, so I gotta make an FX bus. So this is gonna be running parallel, right? And I'm gonna put... Do they have a reverb here? XTC reverb, XT reverb. They have G verb. And they have a delay. We have a triple delay. Let's try it. Let's see what those are about. I want these to be, of course, ahead of any processing on this channel here, or on this bus. I'm gonna say delay into the reverb. Do I get to tap it? Does it have a tap? It does. Okay. All right. Let's roll. Let's. Oh, before I do it, yeah, let's try it. Let's send it into this bus and then send it to the FX bus. But we're gonna leave the master on for that. Okay. All right, here we go.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor, no. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cambié. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. De ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Para mí. Yo tengo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Okay, so I assigned that to the hook group. So now we got that. You guys couldn't see, though, like the other windows I had open when I was setting the delay and the reverb. So on the reverb, I just tapped the tempo, and then probably on the delay, I tapped the tempo, and then I tried to control the wet dry. And then same with the reverb. I just took the default reverb, which was really, really like a big haul, and then bring back the what do you call it, the wet dry knob on that. So far so good. I think the hook is decent now, so let's go ahead and move it to, I believe this is verse 1. So I'll go ahead and start a new group. I'm going to call it V1. That just means verse 1. The reason why I want these grouped is so I can control the groups as opposed to just like, you know, a vocal bus. So I might want, because all the vocals are going to be routed in the bus, and then I just want to control the groups individually. All right, here we go.
De mi vida y por ninguna te cambiaría. Eres tú la única que necesito. Le doy gracias a Diosito que te hizo toda mía. Eres mi diamante, eres mi fortuna. Y como tú, la verdad no hay ninguna. Soy un hombre bien afortunado. Contigo a mi lado, la lotería yo me ha ganado. Tu amor para mí es sagrado. Mi corazón tú te lo has ganado. Y todos estos años tú me lo has cuidado. Agradecido estoy contigo, porque esta es la fecha, amorcito, tú me has cumplido. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo te amo a la antigua. Eres el amor de mi vida y por ninguna te cambiaría. Eres tú la única que necesito. Le doy gracias a Diosito que te hizo toda mía. Eres mi diamante, eres mi fortuna. Y como tú, la verdad no hay ninguna. Soy un hombre bien afortunado. Contigo a mi lado, la lotería yo me ha ganado. Tu amor para mí es sagrado. Mi corazón tú te lo has ganado. Y todos estos años tú me lo has cuidado. Agradecido estoy.
Okay, so I just did some additional processing. Of course, you know what I'm saying, I'm copying the settings over. It's the same artist. So that I'm just setting the fader, routing it into the vocal bus, and then I'm going to control. Now I've grouped up verse 1. It's not perfect. I'm going to come back and then I'm going to rebalance the groups. Then I'm going to balance the buses. So now we're going to go to verse 2, and we're just going to do the same thing. I'm copying settings over, sending it to the bus, and then we're going to and then of course assigning a group. That's what I'm doing.
I'm one lucky man. Hold your hand. When I met you, it was all change of plans. Amor, la verdad que si te amo. Yo nunca podría hacerte daño. Cuando no estás conmigo ya te extraño. La verdad que si te amo. I'm one lucky man. I'm the one that holds your hand. When I met you, it was all change of plans. Amor, la verdad que si te amo. Yo nunca podría hacerte daño. Cuando no estás conmigo ya te extraño. La verdad que si te amo. La verdad es que te amo. Te amo. La
Okay, so we're dealing with ad-libs here on verse 2. So we have that ad-lib track up here. I'm just going to copy the settings. So in this case, we're going to copy the multiband, compression. Is that right? Is that what I wanted to use? No, that's the beat. I'm sorry, I don't want that. No, I meant to copy, yeah, the console EQ. Alright, and then we'll copy the EQ settings here and the compressor settings here. Alright, so we have everything copied over. That did not go to a bus. So, alright, let me check it.
Te amo, yeah. La verdad es que te amo. Así lo es. Soy un hombre afortunado. Estoy rico. La verdad es que te amo. Mucha gente no cree. Te amo, yeah. La verdad es que te amo. Así lo es. Soy un hombre afortunado. Estoy rico. La verdad es que te amo. Mucha gente no cree. Te amo, yeah. La verdad es que te amo. Soy un hombre afortunado. Estoy rico. La verdad es que te amo. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo lo escribió que te amo. La verdad es que te amo. Soy un hombre afortunado. La verdad es que te amo.
Okay, so we're rewinding to the top. So we're going to hear it from the top now. And I'm just going to do some balances first. We're just going to balance everything in the channels. After that, we don't really have to balance the effects channel. The beat channel is going to, or the beat bus is going to remain the same. So I probably just only have to move the vocal bus to try to make everything sound, just to make sure that everything's balanced right. So basically we're doing 2 balances, and then we're going to work the master bus.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Yo te amo a la antigua. Eres el amor de mi vida y por ninguna te cambiaría. Eres tú la única que necesito. Le doy gracias a Diosito que te hizo toda mía. Eres mi diamante, eres mi fortuna. Y como tú, la verdad no hay ninguna. Soy un hombre bien afortunado. Contigo a mi lado, la lotería yo me ha ganado. Tu amor para mí es sagrado. Mi corazón tú te lo has ganado. Y todos estos años tú me lo has cuidado. Agradecido estoy contigo, porque esta es la fecha, amorcito, tú me has cumplido. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así, pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi, yo me enamoré de ti. El universo lo escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. I'm one lucky man, I'm the one that holds your hand. When I met you, it was all change of plans. Amor, la verdad que sí te amo. Yo nunca podría hacerte daño. Cuando no estás conmigo ya te extraño. La verdad que sí te amo. La verdad es que te amo. Soy un hombre afortunado. La verdad es que te amo. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's balance the buses.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Yo te amo a la antigua. Eres el amor de mi vida y por ninguna te cambiaría. Eres tú la única que necesito. Le doy gracias a Diosito que te hizo toda mía. Eres mi diamante, eres mi fortuna. Y como tú, la verdad no hay ninguna. Soy un hombre bien afortunado, contigo a mi lado.
Sounds good now. I'm going to now process the master bus. So I'm going to mess with the master bus EQ, the drive, and of course we'll glue it with the SSL native bus compressor. You can't see it, but the settings for my bus compressor are, I have the slowest attack and the fastest release, which means the two white lines are pointing toward each other. Okay, on those two knobs. The ratio is at 1.5 is the lowest you can go, and I turn the oversampling up to 4 times, 4x. Gives a good smooth character. I'm going to aim for 2 decibels gain reduction on the master bus after I've done the EQ and the tape drive on the master bus tape. And then we'll glue it. I'll do a final fader move on the master bus fader to keep it below 0 on the K14, just or touching 0, close to 0, the K14 loudness meter, and it will be done. That mix can then be printed. So here we go, final stage, let's go.
Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. Yo te amo a la antigua. Eres el amor de mi vida y por ninguna te cambiaría. Eres tú la única que necesito. Le doy gracias a Diosito que te hizo toda mía. Eres mi diamante, eres mi fortuna. Y como tú, la verdad no hay ninguna. Soy un hombre bien afortunado. Contigo a mi lado, la lotería yo me ha ganado. Tu amor para mí es sagrado. Mi corazón tú te lo has ganado. Y todos estos años tú me lo has cuidado. Agradecido estoy contigo, porque esta es la fecha, amorcito, tú me has cumplido. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz. I'm one lucky man, I'm the one that holds your hand. When I met you, it was all change of plans. Amor, la verdad que sí te amo. Yo nunca podría hacerte daño. Cuando no estás conmigo ya te extraño. La verdad que sí te amo. La verdad es que te amo. Soy un hombre afortunado. La verdad es que te amo. Mucha gente no cree en el amor. Yo pensaba así pero todo cambió. Cuando te vi yo me enamoré de ti. El universo no escribió que fueras para mí. Yo tengo solo ojos para ti. Y para amarte, amorcito, yo nací. Amor, por favor, solo confía en mí. Te lo prometo que siempre te haré feliz.
Sounds pretty good to me. I feel like it ticks all the right boxes. The balancing act is obviously taking a beat that's already been mastered and then trying to get vocals. And you go, well, why would you process if it's already mastered? Because the character. That's why. I want the character of this SSL 9000J and the tape and everything to give it the character so that it blends well with the vocals. I don't really want the beat to sound different from the vocals in terms of tone, right? I want it to feel like it all belongs together. It's got the same color. You understand? That's what I'm going for on that. So that's what I'm doing. And then, of course, gluing it all together and everything. I think it does sound like a cohesive thing now. So it's going to be, I think, hard to tell that somebody listens to this, that this was a 2-track beat and just vocals. But like I said, I am at the mercy of the producer who mixed the beat. So as you could tell, there were certain things that I felt like needed to be enhanced about that beat, because when it was mastered, you gotta think the room the guy mixed and mastered in, probably not a very good room. My room ain't great either, but normally most of these guys don't even have good monitors. They're usually using like headphones for the most part. Sometimes they have monitors. I have HS5s. I think a lot of people have HS5s too, but I think the most popular one is the KRKs, and they're okay, but especially the one with the yellow cone is pretty shitty from what I'm hearing. I mean, it sounds good, but the mixes that are mixed on it are always bad. Like it's not a very honest monitor. So the HS5s are good. I'm used to them now. I remember when I first got them, I felt like everything was really bright. But now my mixes seem pretty balanced. So I think we'll go with this. This sounds pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and print this mix. I'm going to send it as a 32-bit float file. And then, I work at 48K. If you can't tell, you can see there. I work at 48K. 48 is completely fine. And I like 32-bit floating point, wave files when I print the entire mix. Now I'm going to print that mix. I'm going to go into a mastering session, which I'm not going to show you guys that because it's boring. That's why. And it's not really much to do anyway. I'm not doing very much on the mastering. Just making it loud and just trimming the fat, on the top and the bottom end. And that's about it. I mean, it sounds already pretty good as it is. I'm not going to try to deviate much from what you already hear as well. It's just going to be a louder version of what you're hearing here. And it's not going to be insanely loud either. It's just going to be loud enough. And that's good enough for me. Alright, well anyway, if you guys enjoy my videos, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's your boy Vigilante Styles. And, got a message anyway I got to get to. But you guys take care. Watch my other videos. Give me feedback on like what more videos you want to see. I figured this would be useful to see how I typically mix a song where, it's a 2-track stereo beat with vocals. It's probably the most common mixing scenario for most people who are not at the professional level. So if you want to get professional results, mixing like this, I do feel like Mixbus is certainly the workstation that you need to kind of get the sound to be very. You could do it, but it's like, yeah, you got to go mix and match plugins and do a whole bunch of shit. Everything is already set up. You know, you have a console to work on. That simplifies your process by a lot. Your workflow is console workflow, routing to the buses, route to the master bus, and give it just a little bit of love on each track and a little bit on the buses. Get a little. The idea, what I like about this workflow too, is that, think about this. I've done probably about 3 different mix balances before I did the master bus glue. So I feel like this mix is getting more attention than what some dude in Pro Tools would be doing. You know, they probably would be like overly obsessed over picking different plugins for the EQ and the compressor and stuff like that, and switching around different ones, and just really kind of getting bogged down in the minutia and kind of missing the overall picture, which is, you know, get the shit sounding good, get a balance. And the nice thing about this workflow is it's kind of forcing me to rebalance a few times to make sure that, okay, we got a good volume balance on everything, the beat balance versus the vocals, the balance between the vocals. I even got up and kind of stood away from my monitors to see if anything popped out to me that I thought was very annoying, unpleasant, or surprisingly terrible or whatever, and I tried to make some corrections, as you know. So there were several mixed passes of the audio going into the master bus and giving it the glue, and then the shit is ready to roll. So I feel like I can't do anything more to make this mix any more better than it is, and considering it's a 2-track beat with vocals, I challenge anybody to try to do better than this. I feel like this is as good as it gets. I mean, you can get down in the weeds with some like Pro Q3 and really be all surgical with it, but you know, you don't really have that kind of control over the shit, you know, like you think you do, right? Especially when it's a 2-track beat. And with vocals, it's like, well, do I really need to sit there and EQ each vocal differently? It's the same guy. You know, I don't. I can copy the shit over, boom, 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 get it into the buses, and do a little bit more glue there. And I know a lot of people who do mixing who don't really route shit into buses. They kind of obsess over the channels, and then they do kind of like some really long chain master bus processing that squashes the hell out of everything and destroys all the work that they did in their channels. And then they're like, okay, cool, I'll send it to mastering. They'll use like Ozone and put Master Assistant on that shit, and it'll just make it loud, squashed, and just terrible. But then, you know, like a amateur, you know, artist would hear that and go, oh fuck, man, this is great. You know, it's loud, you know, and the bass is hitting and my vocals are crispy, and I don't really give a fuck about how shitty it sounds on a lot of different systems, just as long as it sounds cool on my KRKs, my earbuds, and in my car with terrible speakers. And that's cool and that's fine, but like this artist is a perfect example. This guy, why do I have to be so picky, right? Because I told this artist, I said, and his name is MakDon. Go check him out. I have produced a lot of his stuff, but I didn't make this beat in particular. But I did tell him, I said, the reason why we want this workflow, the reason why we want this sound and this character, as I said, it's going to sound good in your car, it's going to sound good in your phone, it's going to sound good on these things, but you don't know what your listeners are listening to your music on, man. You don't know, you know what I'm saying? If they're playing it on fucking big ass speakers, if they're playing that shit on their TV, you don't know what they're playing it on, man. So you can't like just say that, oh, it's just going to be like, it sounds cool on my phone and in my truck and I'm happy, right? With the stock speakers, you know? I'm glad that it sounds good there. But he just got a video today from a friend or a fan of his who played his music through an insane system in a Jeep with like massive subwoofers and tweeters and shit. And the guy said he loved the song so much, it's a good test of his equipment. Now, that's a testament to my mixing and mastering, you know, because he says, dude, your mixing and your mastering is so fire. This dude listened to my song and likes to bump it on his speakers in his car because it shows off his equipment well. Everything sounds amazing. And I'm going, that's what I'm telling you. That's why mixing and mastering is so fucking important and why people can't skimp on that shit. Because you don't know where they're going to fucking play your shit at. And, you know, if that's the impression they have of your music, that they play it on their good system, that a lot of people in the hood, they do spend money on good fucking systems in their cars, and then your music sounds fucked up on their system, they ain't gonna listen to you no more. But if your album is so fire and the mixing and mastering is so precise and so good that people can listen to it on high-end shit and it shows off their gear, you've nailed it. You've nailed that fucking mix. You've nailed and then the mastering on top of it all. You nailed the master. So that's why it's so important, especially if you're somebody that is trying to get your name out. If you're not already famous, you know, and you're trying to get your name out, that is so important. That's even more important than the major labels, because for you can't sound like shit. And that when people hear it for the first time, you can't sound like shit. You need to sound good. And when you sound good, you know, people are going to want to hear more. Like now this guy wants more music, right? He's like, dude, send me more shit. Guide me to your other shit because I love it. It sounds so good on my speakers. I can show off my speakers, you know what I'm saying, in my car. That's going to get all the honeys, you know what I'm saying, checking them out. And he wants to get more music from this guy because he already likes that kind of music. Their neighborhood and their city, you know, they play like Spanish, you know, Hispanic Latin hip hop. So if that Latin hip hop is hitting right, man, and the vocals are sounding good and everything's sounding amazing, you know, he could show that off. And then he shows it off with his car, man, and that's free promotion for the artist because people go, damn, who is this? Shit sounds amazing in this guy's car. But see, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm the character of this, bro, right here, what we got going on right here, this SSL 9000J and Mixbus Pro, SSL native, the tape saturation, all this shit with the Harrison EQ on the buses and everything. The reason why that's important is because these things are considered the highest grade quality sounding shit. And I don't give a fuck what that fucking dude on YouTube is saying about he could do it with stock plugins. Yeah, you can, but it would take you 40 times longer than when I'm doing it. And it's not going to sound the same as my mix because there's other shit. You got the EQ, yes, but you got to go match it to try to do what I'm doing. If you just use your own ears and your own decisions, you're not going to end up with the same mix that I get because I don't do all that visual fucking shit with the EQs. I turn that motherfucker up and you see how I do it. I turn that motherfucker up and I play with the fucking frequency knobs until the shit, I hear shit in a certain way and I go, that's cool. Babe, it's a little too much of that. Let me back off on that. Oh, I want to hear more of that. Let me crank that up a little more. But I have an idea of what everything is going to sound and I'm playing by ear. I'm not using my eyes because we don't watch music. We listen to music. So fuck what that guy's saying. Can you get this mixed with stock plugins? Sure, but you're going to have a long-ass plugin chain, bro. You're going to have a long-ass plugin chain. If you're doing this in FL Studio, well, for one, I don't know, maybe the parametric EQ too. I've never been able to have it do filters and EQ on the same one. I'd have to have two instances, one doing filters, the next one doing EQ. The kind of EQ that this does, the EQ curves, very hard to do with, you can do them, but you have to know what these EQs are doing right off the bat. Like for instance, an SSL EQ, especially this is the 9000J, which means that this is a G EQ, believe it or not. Here, and then when you hit E, it's an E series EQ, so it's based off the 4000 E and the G. This is technically a 4000 quote unquote G series EQ on the 9000J. And so when I do a boost on the top end, well, I'm not just getting a high shelf, I'm also getting a high mid dip to go with it. So then I go and crank the high mid a little bit to kind of compensate for that dip. But that dip is nice though, because I like it that it pulls back on that. It actually makes the brighter shit sound even brighter and nice. Low end, this is going to be a low shelf. This is probably be a low, but you do have the ability to get bell curves if you want them. I typically just roll with the shelves. You have 2 bells here. You also have proportional Q, which is fine. Basically the louder that you make the louder that you crank this up, the more tighter the Q is. That's cool for like finding, surgical type of EQ maneuvers when you're going to turn that dial around and listen for certain things and then bring it back. And when you bring it back, it widens the Q. Can you do that in certain EQs? Sure you can, but you're still not going to get the same sound as me, because the way that you're EQ and the way that you're seeing things, you're gonna manipulate it in a way that it's not going to give you the same sound per se. You can, if you want to try to null mat and do EQ matching and spend about an hour trying to match it and then go, ha, fucker, I got it, it nulled, fuck you, you know what you're talking about. But I do know I'm getting these nice EQ curves in a matter of a few seconds, where that guy's got to go play around with his fucking Pro Q3, his stock EQs and whatnot, trying to get the sound that I'm getting. When it's just right off the gate, I could turn a couple knobs. The workflow is what kills it, right? That's why I go stock plugins are garbage. For the most part, I'm not talking about with Mixbus, because everything that's stock is really console shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's not bad, but I'm talking about like FL Studio stock. It just, it gets the job done. It doesn't really have much vibe per se. Pro Tools stock, it's cool. It doesn't really have vibe. You go, what about character? I can add a saturator. Yes, but your saturator doesn't sound as good as mine. It doesn't. I can tell you right now that Saturn does not sound exactly the same as this fucking tape saturation here, which I think sounds really good. So no, you're not going to get the same character as me. You got different types of EQ. You also have EQ cramping and other fucking EQs, which they say is audio nerd shit and doesn't matter. It does fucking matter. It does matter, because you can't get the same curves. There's a reason why we like SSL EQs. They just fucking sound good. Why does this sound punchy? Because of the way the EQ is. Now, if you try to do the same shit with a stock plugin, you can kind of get the curve, but you still don't get the thickness of the sound, because there's other things. There's this compressor on top of it all, giving you a thick sound. And you're going, well, I can just use my stock compressor. Well, your stock compressor just does compressing. This also has the way that it compresses. You got to look at that shit through like Plugin Doctor and stuff like that, but to see how it's compressing the knee and all that other shit, how it's grabbing a sound, and how it's taking that sound and messing with the transients. Not every compressor is exactly the fucking same, and neither is the EQ. The guy is a bullshit artist, and then he's trying to sell this $59 crap EQ course that you can do without. I'm going to tell you right now, don't buy his fucking course. He's a fucking moron. He's a dumb fuck. He's an idiot. He's a fucking stupid, worthless piece of shit YouTuber. You don't need to fucking listen to his shit. The guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a fucking moron, right? No, these are not scams, right? When people sell you shit like this. It's workflow enhancer. Okay? But can you do all this with stock plugins? You can fuck with it till it nulls, right? But you have to fuck with it. You'll be grabbing all sorts of fucking plugins to try to get things to null. I don't think you'll be able to null the fucking saturation. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to null that. That is bullshit. And he goes, well, it's not an audible null. Audible null is because you're looking at one channel, dick, right? A lot of the subtleties in something like this is compounding. So you hear it over the overall mix later, that the little bit of the subtle character on this one channel versus the next one versus the next one versus the next one, as you sum them together. This is only fucking like 8 tracks, but imagine doing like a 30-track session. That character, running it through the bus, giving it its tape saturation, boom, 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 till you get to the master bus, and then you're hitting it with all these different other things. And then in the end, you can't fucking tell me that my mix that I did here in Mixbus will sound exactly like your fucking stock Pro Tools mix with a few FabFilter plugins, and tell me whether it's better or not. Doesn't matter. The average listener, they don't care. They do. You just don't realize it, right? Because the average listener you don't know what they're playing your shit on. It will matter when your record is played on the guy's fucking system because he thinks that your record sounds so good he could show off his system. That's when you know your shit is right. And so, no, the average listener does fucking care. Did you like my rant? Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's your boy Vigilante Styles. Anyway, I'm out. Peace.